near you.
Hey, Gary Spikes. We got Val. We got Leonard with Denise. A little Eric on the side with Rachel coming in. Hello there. Curtis, nice to see you there. Welcome, everybody. Hey, Penny Van, how are you doing? And we are broadcasting live out of UK. Thank you, Spooky Network, for letting us broadcast live on your channel tonight. Hello there, Liana. Hey, what's going on? So, Christopher, how are you doing today, brother?
Fantastic. How are you doing, Justin? I'm in, Chris.
Yeah, so, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what this little rat did to me before we came on the show. I was backstage, and he was like, "Hey, Justin, how you doing there, Justin?" I was like, "Chris, it ain't Justin. Hey, what the hell's wrong with you?" That's all right. Get down, Chris. Get it down. So welcome, Christopher. I'm glad to be back in the studio. A long trip across the country. However, did I tell you that I had some UFO experiences out there in the desert? Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
So we were sitting there, and Christopher, we were watching. I was watching, and I'm like, "What's that?" I'm like, "What is that?" And he was like, shit, "That's just UFO." It's a UFO. And ladies and gentlemen, this thing was so big. It was two rectangle lights side by side and nothing in the center. And it was like, and it was just like, and I just sat there. I'm like, I didn't grab my cameras. I didn't grab my video recorder. And I just sit there. So I'm like, this is not happening. This is like really happening. And we sat there, and this thing was so huge. And I'm saying, when it's huge, it looked like something out of Star Wars. And I'm just sitting there, it's like somebody else has got to be seeing this besides me. Now, what? Did you just hear a woman? I just heard a woman talk. Did you just hear that? Or was that you? Are you punking me out?
No.
Hello, Julianne. Yeah, I just heard a woman talk. But anyways, this is how big these lights were. Don't make fun of my artistic work. And this is what they look like. They're symmetrical, okay? So don't make fun of my squiggles. But they were that big. They were huge. They were rectangles, side by side. And they were going, whoa, as it went across the sky. And I'm like, man, get out. I mean, you really shut the front door. But it actually happened. And, of course, everybody was like, and you didn't film it. I'm like, I was in shock. Why is it every time I've got cameras? And you heard a voice too. I know. I told you it was a woman. That is crazy. I heard it in my ears.
I got to say, I've done hundreds of investigations with the UFO network. And a lot of people, when they have these sightings, they don't think real quick to get their cameras up. They just sit there and go.
No. I had them. I had all my camera equipment not even 20 feet or less from the door. And because you're out here in the desert sky looking at everything. And so, Christopher, it gets better. So I'm sitting there and I'm having me a glass of wine, which I don't drink wine. And I'm looking and I'm like, what's that? A light just goes, appears. And I'm like, what? I mean, look at this. And then the light goes and disappears. And I'm like, nah, did we just see that? And then it happens again.
No kidding.
The light appears and the light moves and it disappears. And I'm thinking,
Hello.
Okay, I'm not a wine drinker, but that is not the wine. And so she says, oh, it's just a cloud over there by the mountains. I'm like, phew. All right, I can buy that, right? All right, so it's a mountain and clouds, and the light's going behind the clouds. So we see it again, and she's like, I'm like, I see it. And it doesn't. She goes, whatever. So we go we go inside, and she goes, hey, come out here and look. She turned the lights off, the porch lights and stuff. And I'm like, what are you looking at? She said, there are no clouds. The sky is cloudless. Ladies and gentlemen, it looked like something was appearing out of a portal and coming across the sky and going into another portal. But no, she had me convinced it was clouds and mountains. So yes, clouds and mountains, ladies and gentlemen. Now, when I saw that, damn, I didn't feel none of that. Anyways, so there you go, a little twisted. And Julian, hopefully you enjoyed that little encounter.
So I got to ask you, did you have any missing time?
Do you know what? I was in such of awe when I saw those two rectangles. Oh, shut the front door. Somebody else caught the same thing somewhere in the United States, and I got the video. I'm glad I thought of that. Hold on. I want to show you what this looks, Christopher. That's what I wanted to show you to see if you recognize this. Hold on here. Where is my... Daggone it. See, y'all got me so excited. What's he doing on my screen? Get off my screen. All right, let me get my messages up here because I actually saved this video as I was like, no way, because this looks like almost exactly what I saw. And of course, once again, I didn't film it. And I don't know why. I had everything there with me, like always to film something. All right, let me see if I can find it here real quick. Let's see here. It should be the last one, I think. Not that one. Let's see here. I got it. I got it, ladies and gentlemen. And action. Here we go. And here we go. Now, let me go back and see if I can pause it.
Yep. If you saw that, you saw a UFO.
There you go. That's what it looked like, but much, much bigger and rectangles. Uh-oh. See what they look like, the rectangles?
Yep.
That's what they look like, what I saw. But they were bigger. And they were like pulsating, like, whoa, whoa. Well, of course, they weren't making the noise, but.
No, but I got you. Yeah, definitely caught a UFO.
But when I saw this video, I was like, that is it. That is what I saw. But they were huge.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, that is just like, and when I saw this video, I was like, those are it. Those are the lights, but much bigger. And there's nothing in the center of those lights because I went back and watched that video over and over. Eric, if you're going to show that, what I think you have seen the videos. And so Eric's seen it too. So Christopher looks excited.
Yeah, I got videos of those exact things on my phone, but just as clear as a bell too. So.
Do you really?
Oh yeah, honest.
What the hell are they?
They're UFOs for sure, but they're cubed, but they can also morph into one unit.
I don't know what it was, but ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you this. It made me stop and appreciate how small we were in this universe. Yeah, it is hard to imitate, Amy, right? Hello there. Thank you for my beautiful head there. One day, hopefully, you can rub it. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just fascinating to see that and see the lights come in and out of the sky, which I still don't understand what that is. I mean, to me, it represented like a portal.
I got to ask you, was that your first sighting ever?
No, It was just something that big and catastrophic. I mean, it was not. So it's interesting when you're out there in the desert, right? There is nothing that you cannot see because there's no lights. And you can see for miles and miles across the sky. I'm just talking infinitely.
Oh yeah.
When this thing appeared, it did not like fly overhead and stop. It was just like, it's there. And it's like, where did it come from? And it just slowly took across the sky. And it was like, whoa. And I'm like, I'm going to holler at her to look and it's going to disappear. And it didn't.
So it was going slow, huh?
Yeah, real slow.
Wow.
And then it just like gone. I was like, whoa. So, hey, Steve, welcome to the show. Nice to have you. But it was just, ladies and gentlemen, was fascinating. I love watching the sky. I love being out in the sky, and especially out in the desert at night. It's so cool. It's not as hot.
Hey,
so,
Steve.
yes.
Hey, Rachel. Hey, Amy. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching.
But I had to get your take on that. So you actually seen those before. Interesting.
Oh, yeah. I've actually, a case I've worked with earlier this year, we had the same thing.
Wow. All right, Christopher.
Here we go.
I'm ready.
All right, tonight we're talking about Project Blue Book.
Project Blue Book, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting subject. I love it.
All right. So since man first walked on the earth, and especially since he first walked the moon, one question has plagued humankind: are we really alone in this wide, underlining universe? In ancient times, the appearance of shooting stars sparked interest in extraterrestrial life forms. Now, the so-called signs are much more advanced. Floating light drone photographs and first-hand accounts of actual abductions. But where does this fantasy end and the reality begins? Just how many of these floating lights or grainy photos or wild accounts are real? And if they are, is the government hiding it from us? Project Blue Book hoped to answer each of these questions. While extraterrestrial enthusiasts are the butt of many a joke, especially while aliens are concerned, it may surprise you to know that they were once taken seriously. In some cases, they still are. In fact, there was once a very official project run by the United States Air Force that specialized in pinpointing unidentified flying objects and determining their purpose. The endeavor was known as Project Blue Book. Now, it all began in 1947 when an Army general named Lieutenant General Nathan Twing sent a classified memo to the Pentagon titled Flying Disc. The memo detailed an encounter Twing had with a group of disc-like aircraft. He claimed the disc demonstrated extreme rates of climb, maneuverability, and motion, which must be considered evasive when sighted or contacted by friendly aircraft and radar. Peter Twing's memo, Project Sign, was started at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base near Dayton, Ohio. I've been there. Project Sign was later replaced by Project Grudge, though neither collected sufficient data or turned out any viable conclusions. Thus, Project Blue Book was indeed born. Now, according to government documents released under the Freedom of Information Act, Project Blue Book ran officially from 1952 to 1969. Even though the facts of Project Blue Book have been released to the public, there remains a certain amount of mystery surrounding the events, fueling conspiracy theories and casting a veil of doubt over any real facts that stand out. Now, to sort out fact from fiction, it's depending on who you ask. Impossible? However, in many mentions of the project, two things are consistently conveyed as fact that the project aimed to determine if UFOs were a threat to national security and to scientifically analyze any and all collective UFO related data. With those two aims in mind, the project was born. Though it wasn't the first of its kind, it was the first to be run effectively and collect usable, conclusive data. Under the guidance of a handful of Air Force generals, the operatives working for the project spent their time essentially on the lookout for UFOs. Cold War panic had installed in American public the fear of all things unknown, especially things that came from the sky and from the general direction of Russia. Project Blue Book was in part supposed to dispel some of this panic and to debunk theories that Russians were colluding with in cahoots with the aliens, or that the United States was under attack from yet another foreign foe. We're going to do a screen share right now, and I'm going to show you a photo of an actual UFO that was taken at the time of Project Blue Book.
See, what a lot of people do not understand is that the reason why Project Blue Book came out is that we saw it. The Soviet Union had this technology and were using it against us. And when we contacted the Soviet Union, they're like, no, we thought you had the technology using it against us. And they're like, oh, crap. It's not you. No, it's not us. That's not us to you. No. And that's how everything was born.
This is an actual flying saucer, a photo taken from the time of around the time of Project Blue Book, and this was a black and white photo. I would assume taken on old Polaroid cameras or so, but you can actually see the disc in the sky. And this was actually a part of their file, part of Project Blue Book's database.
So that's what was very fascinating that puzzled me, is that here everybody thought it was everybody else.
Right.
And that's what shook up the world.
All right. Project Blue Book was in part supposed to dispel some of this panic and to debunk theories that Russians were in cahoots with aliens, or that the United States was under attack from yet another foreign foe. The first head to Project Blue Book was Captain Edward J. Roper, an experienced airman, and was decorated for his efforts in World War II with the Air Corps. He officially coined the term unidentified flying objects and was dedicated to scientifically and genuinely researching each UFO sighting. He looked into such popular cases as the Lubbock Lights, which was a UFO in Texas in 1952, and radar case over Washington, D.C. Ruppel's lead scientific consult was J. Allen Hynek, a prominent astronomer from Chicago. In the TV series, Hynek is in the recent TV series, Hynek is being played by Aidan Gillian. I don't know if you guys know Game of Thrones, but he plays a J. Allen Hynek. Now, as a scientist, Hynek participated, legitimized the project in a way. It wasn't just a bunch of soldiers searching the skies for mysterious lights. It was now a scientific study of life beyond Earth. Most of Hynek's job involved explaining away mysterious lights as a natural phenomenon, or attributing flying objects to planes, asteroids, or sometimes simply clouds. Hynek went into the project a self-proclaimed skeptic. and admitted that sometimes he tried too hard to explain the strange phenomenon away with implausible reasons. However, there was a few events that took place during the project that sparked Hynek's interest enough for him to continue his own UFO studies, long after Project Blue Book shut down. In fact, it was Hynek who would go on to coin the infamous alien term, close encounters. Of his change of heart, Hynek once told an interviewer that you can't assume that everything is black, no matter what. The caliber of the witness begins to trouble me. Quite a few instances were reported by military pilots, for example, now, and I know them to be fairly well trained, so this is when I first began to think that, well, maybe there was something to all this. Several Army generals oversaw Project Blue Book during the almost 2 decades it ran. Each general had a different regime, different goals, and different interpretations of what they were looking for, and sometimes their findings disputed those of their predecessors. We're going to do a screen share. You're going to see a picture of J. Allen Hynek in his prime during Project Blue Book. Here's a photo. This is J. Allen Hynek smoking his pipe, and you can see that is him in his prime during Project Blue Book, or around that time, I guess. All right. Any questions in the chat room before I continue?
This is a picture of Edward. He's real famous from Project Blue Book. I can't even talk. Project Blue Book. You'll see him around.
Thank you, Gary, for joining. Thanks, everyone, for watching. All right. Now, perhaps the most change-ridden era in Project Blue Book was that of a Major Hector Quintal. Under Major Quintal's watch, the project underwent changes, some of which were performed under the suggestions from outside forces, something that had rarely been done under previous generals. One of the first changes to the project was the verification of several lights that had been popping up for years in the same place. Quintal's officers found that many previous researchers had been mistaking Jupiter for UFOs, and some still do, believe it or not. Lights for several years. He found several similar misidentifications as well. Now, perhaps the most important event that happened under Major Quintal's was a congressional hearing. In 1966, the northern area of New England began to experience a string of potentially extraterrestrial encounters. Lights flashed across the sky in pattern formations, and residents reported flying discs hovering in the air. It got to the point where there was a congressional hearing ordered by the House of Committee on Armed Services. The lights were explained away as a flying billboard, believe it or not, and an Air Force training exercise. But speculation still abounded. It took Hynek testifying that he had not seen any evidence to confirm extraterrestrial existence to put the matter to bed. But many believe that Hynek may still be fibbing. Major Quintal also oversaw the suggestion of other changes at Project Blue Book. Under the direction from J. Allen Hynek, the project intended to improve upon communication between the scientific community and the researchers. Hynek believed that there was less attention to scientific detail being paid than there was to the public relations aspect of the project. In other words, Hynek wanted to find real UFOs, while the Army was forced on making sure that the public knew that UFOs were not real. While the changes were almost implemented and some of the focus started shifting to real science, the payoff wasn't what Hynek expected. Before much further research could be done, the project began to come to an end. We're going to do another screen share, and you're going to see another photo of a real UFO during the time of Project Blue Book.
Do you think they really stopped or just changed the name?
I believe they just changed the name. That way they could put our thoughts and theories about it to bed in some ways while they continue their research.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it, Chris?
Oh, you bet. This is a real UFO photo taken over Mexico.
So it's interesting, right? We look at these UFOs, ladies and gentlemen, and we look at the characteristics of the design or the shape, but always pay attention to something else. Why is it, and maybe Chris can answer this,
Oh, yes.
why is that some of the UFOs underneath are glowing?
I can answer that. The reason they are glowing is because they do that purposely, one, to get our attention because they want to get noticed, and the other reason they glow is because they as they're going through the atmosphere or going through the skies, I should say, if they have the lights on, I can't really say for sure, but from what I've been told and what I understand is one of the reasons they glow is because from what I've been told is because it helps them get noticed by the public to let us know they are out there. That's the best answer I can give.
Yeah, it always makes me wonder. I'll get a little echo. It makes me wonder about that because to have certain conditions for that to happen, it has to be almost like a heated surface, like the space shuttle. Remember the tiles on the space shuttle, how they heat and expand and they glow when they re-enter and enter and exit the atmosphere. Just saying.
And one way to tell if it is indeed a UFO is one way to look at it is does it have a heat signature like an aura around it? If it has a little white aura around it, that means it is illuminating heat, which is one clue that it is a legitimate UFO, that it is illuminating heat. And the other way to tell if it's a real UFO is the fact that the way it travels. If it travels if it just appears out of the clear blue and then disappears, that's another clue. And the fact that it can move without any sound whatsoever. Very seldom do we get reports with UFOs that have sound. It's always very quiet.
Very interesting.
All right. Indeed, Hynek would later admit that many of his investigations simply offered explanation, though he publicly went along with the skeptical sentiments of Air Force. Hynek would later reveal that Quintel's methods was simple, disregarded, and any evidence that was counter to his hypothesis. Hynek added that under Quintel, the flag of the utter nonsense shooting school. He added that under Quintel's, the flag of the utter nonsense school was flying at its highest on the map. Now, through the 17 years that it operated, Project Blue Book collected 12,618 UFO reports. 12,618 UFO reports. 11,917 of them were explained away as the result of a cloud coverage, obscuring aircraft flights, classified Air Force training exercises, or mirages in the desert of the southern United States. However, two conspiracized theories delight 701 of those cases remain unsolved. Whether the researchers didn't have time to solve them or whether they really were aliens flying overhead remains unknown. In late 1969, Secretary of the Air Force Robert C. Siemens, Jr. announced that Project Blue Book was coming to an end, as there was no further scientific evidence to prove that UFOs were a matter of national security. The project officially ceased to exist on December 17, 1969. Now, in 1968, just a year before that, my grandmother, where I live here, just a few miles down the road, had a huge UFO sighting, and she'll never forget that. And that was around the same time Project Blue Book was going on. The official findings of Project Blue Book claim that 4 things influence UFO sightings. What were those 4 things? Number 1, mass hysteria among the American people. Number 2, individuals hoping to propose a hoax to seek fame. Number 3, misidentifications of conventional objects. Number 4, psychological persons. Now, the findings also provided a firm response to the existence of UFOs, claiming the following. Number 1, no UFO reports investigated or evaluated by Air Force has ever given any identification of threat to our national security. Number 2, there have been no evidence submitted to or discovered by the Air Force that sightings categorized as unidentified represent technological development or principles beyond the range of present-day scientific knowledge. Number 3, there have been no evidence indicating the sightings categorized as unidentified or extraterrestrial vehicles. Project Blue Book, while sparking interest in the existence of UFOs, claimed to have solved the mystery once and for all by chalking it up to national phenomenon. Hynek went on to continue his own investigations and establish the Center for UFO Studies, CUFOS, in 1973. One of the mirrored investigations undertook roughly 80% of them can be explained. 20% remains a mystery. But while the U.S. Air Force may believe the final report of Project Blue Book to be true, the question still lingers in the minds of skeptics and experts alike. Today, are we really alone in the universe? We're going to do another screen share, and you're going to see a video here.
So I can tell you this, anything that's flying around in our atmosphere, it is national security. They are going to be upset and be concerned about it. And they're not going to tell us because they don't want us to be in a mass panic and upset because we can't control our own skies, what's coming in and out of our universe too, on top of it.
Right. All right, we're going to do a screen share, and you're going to see a video coming up here in just a second.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Here we go. Now, this is raw footage, by the way, of this interview, and you're going to see this in its entirety for 5 minutes.
Any audio?
Yeah, there's audio.
We hear none.
Right.
click your audio button, close it off, get it off the screen, stop sharing.
Yes, 1 second. There we go.
All right, share again. And then right before you hit share, there's a little button that says share audio.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right.
All right, now it should work. There you go.
Awesome.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers. The Air Force interest in this problem has been due to our feeling of an obligation to identify and analyze to the best of our ability anything in the air that may have the possibility of threat or menace to the United States. In pursuit of this obligation, since 1947, we have received and analyzed between 1,000 and 2,000 reports that have come to us from all kinds of sources. Of this great mass of reports, we have been able adequately to explain the great bulk of them, explain them to our own satisfaction. We've been able to explain them as hoaxes, as erroneously identified friendly aircraft, as meteorological or electronic phenomena, or as light aberrations. However, there have been a certain percentage of this volume of reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things. It is this group of observations that we now are attempting to resolve. Our basic difficulty in dealing with these is that there is no measurement of them that makes it possible for us to put them in any pattern that would be profitable for a deliberate, custom sort of analysis to take the next step. We have, as of date, come to only one firm conclusion with respect to this remaining percentage, and that is that it does not contain any pattern of purpose or of consistency that we can relate with to any conceivable threat to the United States. Is that? We can say that the recent sightings are in no way connected with any secret development by any department of the United States. We can say that the recent sightings are in no way connected with any secret development by any agency of the United States.
Watch me for the signal there, sir, to start.
I'll start when you throw it down.
Hold it, boys. Everybody ready?
Look how nervous he is.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Major Keyhole, as author of the book Flying Saucers Are Real, what is your opinion of these new sightings of unidentified objects?
With all due respect to the Air Force, I believe that some of them will prove to be of interplanetary origin. During a 3-year investigation, I found that many pilots have described objects of substance and high speed. One case, pilots reported their plane was buffeted by an object which passed them at 500 miles an hour. Obviously, this was a solid object, and I believe it was from outer space.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. The nation's at its finest. Yeah, right, KD. He's like, I'm getting ready to tell what? A spacecraft buzzed an airplane? Ladies and gentlemen, my grandfather used to tell me stories when he was a fighter pilot. He's like, you wouldn't believe what's up there. It's just astonishing.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
I can't see myself on screen.
Just remove yourself and come back. You can't see yourself on screen. You froze. You look like a popsicle.
All right.
Now try it. Your face changed shape. Here, let me help you out, brother. Let me help you out. Come back in. There you go. All right, we'll give Christopher a second to come back in. But it just cracks me up because, if it's national security and it's flying around up there and around our national capital, and people, absolutely. I know, right, Care Bear? Poor Chris. Can you see me? Yeah, we can see you, brother. But he did a pretty good job. I enjoy when Christopher does that. There he comes. All right, Christopher. Now are you back?
Woo.
That was a good show, Christopher. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But I was just saying when he was off the air, I was like, when stuff's flying. We had a guy on, I don't know if I should mention his name. We had a guy on our show 3 years ago. And he was like, I developed stuff for the airplanes to track these UFOs and UAPs across skies. We didn't have that technology. We couldn't see them on radar, but we can now. And I was like, what? You just said that on my show? I think we're all gonna die. But yes. But he did. He started telling what he was doing for the government. And I'm like, uh-oh. And then he just disappeared. But this video's still archived. But yeah, great research, Christopher. I know, right, Amy? I mean, he just dropped it on my show. I'm like, you did what? You're doing what? He's like, yeah, I work for this. I work for that. I work for this agency. And I'm like, anyways. Yes, KD says, thank you, Christopher. It's always much appreciated. And everybody, don't forget tomorrow's show at 11 p.m. Eastern time. They got a special thing coming up. So make sure and check that out. And I always like it to say it. And I'm going to teach Christopher to say it. And it's from coast to coast around the world, everybody. Godspeed. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Good, Christopher.